Hello, Matt Heaton here. Today I'm going to talk to you a bit about some G major voicing ideas that you can do in standard tuning. So I am in regular old standard tuning, and which I think is G major is really one of the power spots for this tuning. Every tuning does some things well and some things are kind of a pain, and for sure G major sounds good in standard tuning. Why is that? Well, that is largely because with these open strings, that's a G major chord. If you just play these three, the 4, 3, and 2, that's a G major chord. D, G, B. Which, having that as part of the sonority of the tuning makes it really easy to kind of voice around it. So one thing that I'm going to have you do, or at least I'll suggest you do, is instead of, so the out-of-the-box G chord is that, which has a lot of, it's got that a couple thirds in it, and you know, when you're doing those sort of big chords, it's a lot of information that's being changed. You're moving a lot of stuff around. And I find that it's more satisfying if you don't move everything around all the time, if you kind of leave something from the key that you're in place all the time, and then kind of imply some of the chord changes without doing whole chords. So what I'm going to suggest is first on the top here, put down 2 fingers, put down the G note and the D on the second string. So you get, if you just play the top 4, you get D, G, D, G. Nice, drony, right? And then on the bottom here, I'm going to play the G with my middle finger, and I'm going to mute the A string. So my second finger is just muting this A. The first finger's not doing anything at the moment. Right? So that gives me a really kind of neutral, drony G sound to start with. Now, the thing that's kind of nice is you can move these 2 fingers are free and easy. You know, they can go all over the place. They can play almost an entire scale without moving, and you can leave these down, which is what we're going to do for these chords. So G, and then your C chord, you just move it over one. Is that really a C chord? You know, could be. It's got some C's and G's in it, and a D. You know, I suppose you would call it a C add 9 if you were going to get technical, but we're in the key of G, so it's going to sound like a C chord. And then the D chord, I'm leaving this down, which technically makes it like a D sus4, but I'm not emphasizing that note very much. I'm just kind of trying to skip over it a little bit, so you can hear when I'm strumming it, you're not really hearing, right? I'm kind of just missing it with the pick. So being able to be kind of accurate with the right hand is very helpful with this stuff. Okay, nice. What if we want to add some other stuff in there? Well, G, often I might go to a G over B chord, which is, so there's my third in the bass. It's on the 2nd fret of the A string. Right? Adds a nice connection to the C chord. What if then I want to make something a little more out of the D chord? Well, another little connection I could do is a D over F sharp. So that note on the 2nd fret of the low E string is an F sharp. Right? Gives you a little bit of an approaching the G from below it rather than above it all the time. Because one of the things in standard tuning, 5, 1, like the 5 is way up there, whereas if you're in drop D, it's dumb. So this way you get to approach it from below, which is kind of nice. Okay, well, what about minor chords? Ah, glad you asked. A minor, the 2 chord, favorite chord. If you just put your first finger on the E note on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and play the open A, you get kind of a you know, again, A minor would be this, but this is going to give you some sort of A feeling in the key of G. So now we've got G, A, G over B, C, D. We need an E minor, surely, a 6th chord? Yeah, we do. So you can put your, again, first finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Wait a minute, that's exactly the same left-hand fingering as for the A minor chord, isn't it? Sure is. The difference is in one of them you are playing the top 4 strings with an E in the bass, so your ear hears that E and wants that to be the root. And the other one, you're playing the A in the bass, your ear hears that and wants that to be the root. Does that make sense? So whatever you put on the bottom of a chord, your ear is going to kind of gravitate toward. So you can get a lot of mileage out of a few things. Another place where that trick works is the G over B, this voicing, right? If you play an E below it, it's an E minor chord. So now we have done, I think we've covered everything. We've gone without ever moving these 2 fingers. So I'm going to mess around with some of these just to show you what it can sound like. You may have noticed that I'm not always hitting all 6 strings. I'm not trying to go, because that's like, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. A couple ways you can approach it that you can thin things out. One is you could kind of use the top notes as like a drone, like almost like a ride cymbal. So you get that going, and then you just add in your bass notes when you're changing chords. Right? Another way is, for a more sort of driving feel, is do a little right-hand palm mute. And again, I'm not hitting those strings, but I get a little bit of sympathetic vibration from them because they, you know, if I play this, you can hear those kind of ring up atop. It's kind of loud down here, but it makes it sound a little bit lusher. So that's all in first position. That's all essentially using just 2 fingers playing like a very few number of notes. So if you want to practice, if this isn't easy, practice just going, playing that scale in G and then go down to your E and back up, and then try it. Sorry. We'll go down. Right? So that's sort of thing number 1. And then from there, you can of course do millions of other things, but I like to always keep in mind that if you're in G, that G string is one of your best friends in the world. You know, if you're not really sure what the chord is, you know, a little light droning on a G, if you're in the key of G, is, you know, it's not going to get in anyone's way, really. So here's another nice little voicing thing. Okay, so this is up sort of on the 3rd position. First finger on that D note, open G, and then a G on the 4th string, 5th fret. So it's G, G, D. Right? And you can, from there, you You can add a C, which is on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. You could resolve it down to a B. There's a 3rd. Whoa. And you can do a kind of implied D chord with that F sharp. You get it's got the little bit of crunch because the G is still in it, but then it resolves to that. So. Yeah, you can reach over. And then you can go down. And now all of a sudden, we're back where we, in the lower notes. So being able to sort of mix up, restrain yourself, like don't play any bass notes for a while. You can get a lot of mileage out of this, certainly. And then if you want to move up the neck, you can still do so with open, some of these shapes. I did another video about these partial voicings with this kind of shape, which is very, very handy to have in the G stuff too. G over B, C, D. So those are some G ideas. The main thing to keep in mind for me is that if you are in whatever key you're in, you want to think of what is easy from that root chord, from that main chord. And if at all possible, keep some of those notes ringing as you find other chord voicings. I'm a big fan of not changing all the notes of a chord all the time, because to me it sounds a little clunky, whereas if I'm just doing, like, that's very smooth and it's very easy in the left hand. So I would encourage you to try and find some of those on your own. And thank you very much for watching, and hope some of this is helpful. Let me know if there are other topics, keys, things that you'd like to talk about. And a big thank you to Shannon Heaton for having me on her YouTube channel. Take care. Bye.